back at it again, baby, and we got a video from Ben Shapiro. I want to say this is the first time I've ever, intentionally sat down and checked out a video of Ben's. Obviously, I've heard of the name before, so yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to be really interesting. Like, share, comment, hey, all that stuff greatly helps the channel out. Just hit the like button, all right? Would really appreciate it. Excuse me, I am multitasking over here, but you know how that goes. Original link to the video will be in the description. Go and join the new Discord server as well. It's the first link that's down below. Let's go.
Now, it's interesting, Mr. Shapiro, you talked about white privilege. And just this week, I had a conversation with Rachel Lazar, who's done some work, a Jewish American woman who's done some work on this area, as well as having extensive conversations with Dr. Greg Parks of Wake Forest University, who's also talked quite a bit about critical race theory. And it's my understanding that white privilege is not telling individuals that they cannot speak, but it is a term for societal privilege that individuals have as a benefit of their white skin. And I don't think that, and I think universities would be remiss to then say that because you're white, you're not allowed to say anything that's critical of white people. I didn't know that white privilege actually went into that sphere. My understanding is it's just, and the issue is that white privilege makes people uncomfortable to talk about the societal privilege that they have.
Well, to me, what I say on campuses all the time is if you want to cite instances of racism that we can all find and fight together, that's something that I'm more than willing to stand next to you and fight, because that's obviously stuff that we should fight together. But when you just say that there is a white privilege out there in the ether and that by dint of birth your skin color generates for you an advantage, what you're really saying to people is that your view is less valuable because you have not experienced what I've experienced. And that is an identity argument, that's a character argument, that's not a rational political argument that can actually be taken on in any way. It's more of a cudgel and a club than it is an attempt to open a discussion.
Well, I think it's a demonstrable evidence that through society's demographics that being white has societal privileges that being black does not. But
we can talk about how that manifests, because that's
I'm also interested in what you just said now, is that you would stand next to anyone who has this. So, Mr. Shapiro, my question to you is, for Ms. Dunston, the tying the noose around the campus and writing messages.
I wanted to hear what he had to say when he was getting ready to start talking, but she interrupted him. I really wanted to hear what he had to say.
That target African American young students. Would you consider that hate speech? And then would you
say?
That target Ms. Dunston, the tying the noose around the campus and writing messages that target African American young students. Would you consider that hate speech, and then would you stand next to her and fight for her?
As I say, I would. This is the first I'm hearing about it, honestly. But
really,
yeah. But from hearing about it, maybe because it's local. I mean, I'm from LA. But in any case, I'm more than happy to stand alongside her and fight whatever group was responsible for this. Not only more than happy. I mean, you're talking about the alt-right. Again, I was the #1 target of anti-Semitic harassment from the alt-right last year. So I'm more than happy to do all that. And I think there's one more distinction that has to be made. When we talk about cases like Taylor's, they're horrific, and the administration is siding with Taylor. Okay, the administration is doing the right thing by Taylor, or trying to do the right thing by Taylor, as they should be. And I think that we need to make a distinction between cases where the administration is actively participating in the suppression of speech and cases in which the administration is trying to do the right thing in order to punish people for application of crime.
Gentleman, Mr. Shapiro.
It's an honor to testify. It's an honor to testify before you here today. The reason that I'm with you is that I speak on dozens of college campuses every year, so I have some firsthand experience with the anti-First Amendment activities that have...
He said he speaks on dozens of college campuses, so maybe that video that I was thinking of from, I don't know, it was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe 3. It was a while ago. Maybe that actually was him. I don't know.
Been taking places on the college campuses. I've encountered anti-free speech measures, administrative cowardice, even physical violence at campuses ranging from California State University at Los Angeles to University of Wisconsin at Madison, which is driving the legislation that Ms. Demings was talking about, to Penn State University to UC Berkeley, and I am not alone. In order to understand what's been going on at some of our college campuses, it's necessary to explore the ideology that provides the impetus for a lot of the protesters who violently obstruct events, pull fire alarms, assault professors and even other students, and the impetus for administrators who all too often humor these protesters. Free speech is under assault because of a three-step argument made by the advocates and justifiers of violence. The first step is they say that the validity or invalidity of an argument can be judged solely by the ethnic, sexual, racial, or cultural identity of the person making the argument. The second step is that they claim those who say otherwise are engaging in what they call verbal violence. And the final step is they conclude that physical violence is sometimes justified in order to stop such verbal violence. So let's examine each of these three steps in turn. First,
Bust it down.
the philosophy
Bust it
of
down.
intersectionality. This philosophy now dominates college campuses, as well as a large segment, unfortunately, of today's Democratic Party, and suggests that straight white Americans are inherently the beneficiaries of white privilege and therefore cannot speak on certain policies, since they have not experienced what it's like to be black or Hispanic or gay or transgender or a woman. This philosophy ranks the value of a view not based on the logic or merit of the view, but on the level of victimization in American society experienced by the person espousing the view. Therefore, if you're an LGBT black woman, your view of American society is automatically more valuable than that of a straight white male. The next step in the logic is obvious. If a straight white male, or anybody else who ranks lower on the victimhood scale, says something contrary to the viewpoint of the higher-ranking intersectionality identity, that person has engaged in a microaggression.
Simple way to get rid of that or to solve that, it should be facts only. If you're going to say something, back it up with some facts, back it up with some statistics, some hard evidence. Just because you feel a certain way, the fuck is that supposed to mean? I feel like I should have $1 million. Do I? I mean, you see the shirt, you know what I mean? Well, maybe not the whole thing. See your boy care package, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But no, all seriousness, a simple way to solve that is just give me facts. You know, I don't care if I feel or I think a different way. If you provide the facts, then that's what we go with. You know, if there's two competing ideas or whatever the case is, whichever idea has the most facts or statistics to back up its validity, then that's what we go with. Simple and plain. What are we arguing about here? What are we talking about? Oh man, my feeling, man, fuck your feelings. I mean, excuse the way that I said that. I mean, I know that may sound, what's up? That sounded a little harsh. I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have said that. Well, you don't even understand me anyway, so it's all good. But yeah, forget about your feelings. Give me the facts. Give me some statistics, some numbers, and that should be the end all be all. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree, or why and why. Let me know.
As NYU social psychologist Jonathan Haidt writes, microaggressions are small actions or word choices that seem on their face to have no malicious intent, but that are thought of as a kind of violence nonetheless. You don't have to actively say anything insulting to microaggress. Somebody merely needs to take offense. If, for example, you say that society ought to be colorblind, you're microaggressing certain identity groups who have been victimized by a non-colorblind society. Note, microaggressions, as the name suggests, are not merely insults. They are aggressions.
There's gonna be somebody insulted at every fucking turn. Somebody's insulted by what the fuck I just said, you know? And I've admitted in past videos, I could be wrong on anything that I say.
They are the equivalent to physical violence. Just 2 weeks ago, psychologist Lisa Feldman Barrett of Northeastern University published an essay in the New York Times suggesting that words should be seen as physical violence because they can cause stress, and stress causes physical harm.
What?
Thus, Feldman suggested it is reasonable, scientifically speaking, to ban or restrict speech you do not like at your school.
Oh, hell no. Whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. And I've said this in a previous video. I'm all for freedom of speech. You can call me the N-word with the hard R. Now, I'm not saying there might not be any consequences. I'm not saying your words don't have consequences. You know, you walk up to some random person on the street, you call them a female dog, you might get knocked the fuck out, depending on who it is. I'm not saying that words don't have consequences, but you got the right to use them.
This is both inane and dangerous.
Let me know
That's
if
because
you
it
agree or
leads to the
disagree.
final logical step. Words you don't like deserve to be fought physically. When I spoke at California State University at LA, one professor threatened students who sponsored me by offering to fight them. He then posted a slogan on the door of his office stating, "The best response to microaggression is macroaggression." As Haidt writes, this is why the idea that speech is violence is so dangerous. It tells the members of a generation already beset by anxiety and depression that the world is a far more violent and threatening place than it really is. It tells them that words, ideas, speakers can literally kill them. Even worse, at a time of rapidly rising political polarization in the United States, it helps a small subset of that generation justify political violence. Indeed, protesters all too often engage in physically violent disruption when they believe their identity group is under verbal attack by someone, usually conservative, but not always. Not only do some administrators look the other way, at Middlebury College, Cal State LA.
I like how he said usually conservative, but not always. Like he made sure, like, yo, I can I can criticize, because one thing that I don't like is when I listen or I watch someone speak and they claim to be fair, but then when you listen to them speak, you're like, yo, like, you're clearly one-sided, so what you said earlier means absolutely nothing. Like, that shit goes out the fucking window. Like, it's cool if you lean a certain way, but you got to be critical of everything. Be fair. If you're gonna be critical of Republicans, be critical of Democrats, and vice versa. If you're gonna be critical of Democrats, be critical of Republicans as well. Bullshit is bullshit, and I'll stand on that. Bullshit is bullshit. And I see so often people criticizing one side, but then they let the other side slide, and it's just like, I don't even take your opinion seriously. Like, I would like to hear what you have to say, but I can't even like take it seriously because I've watched you just let all this other bullshit slide on the other side. And it's just like, yo, like, BS is BS. Simple and plain. That should be the way that it is. Oh man, they did some BS, but I'm gonna turn a blind eye to what they did because I lean this way. The fuck type of shit is that? That's not gonna get us anywhere. That's not gonna improve the situation. At least not in my humble opinion. Y'all can let me know how you feel about it in the comment section, but
Berkeley, Evergreen, actual crimes were committed and almost nobody has been arrested. But they actively forbid events from moving forward, creating a heckler's veto. The notion that if you are physically violent enough, you can get administrators to kowtow to you, to bow before you, by canceling an event you disagree with altogether. All of this destroys free speech. But just as importantly, it turns students into snowflakes, craven and pathetic, looking for an excuse to be offended so they can earn points in the intersectionality Olympics and then use those points as a club with which to beat opponents. A healthy nation requires an emotionally and intellectually vigorous population ready to engage in open debate at all times. Shielding college students from opposing viewpoints makes them simultaneously weaker and more dangerous. We must fight that process at every step.
I agree with that. Shielding people from the opposing viewpoints and thought processes, that's dangerous. That's very, very dangerous. I don't care if you even lean towards the side. You know what I mean? It's important to hear opposing thoughts and opinions because maybe yours is wrong. I don't care if you consider yourself a Democrat or Republican. And like I stated before, I think we should get rid of the title Democrat or Republican because it just creates too much division. It's almost like a gang. Hey, I represent the Republicans, and anything the Democrats say, man, that shit is garbage. That shit is ass cheeks. We ain't even considering it. They're fucking idiots. Hey, I'm a Democrat. Anything the Republicans say, man, that shit is out the fucking window. We ain't even trying to hear it. And anybody that is a Republican and they listen to anything the Democrats say, oh, you a fucking traitor. Go over there. Go over there. You listen to what the fuck they had to say, man. Take your ass over there, and vice versa. You a Democrat and you negotiating with Republicans? Oh man, you a terrorist, man. Take your ass over there with them. It's like, yo, what the fuck are we doing? Are we kids? Like, I mean, because it seems like it. I mean, holy shit. How do we get to this point? Like, how are we allowing this foolishness? I just don't get it. I really don't get it.
Simultaneously weaker and more dangerous. We must fight that process at every step. And that begins by acknowledging that whatever we think about America and where we stand, we must agree on this fundamental principle. All of our views should be judged on their merits, not on the color or sex or sexual orientation of the speaker, and those views should never be banned on the grounds that they offend someone. Thanks so much.
Mr. Shapiro, you an agitator?
Not as far as I'm aware. So
what the fuck does that mean?
I think that some of what's been said does mini-skirt the debate. Mr. Krishnamurthy, I got it right. When you were talking about the Wisconsin law, I believe that law was brought up in direct counter to what happened, and it was people talked about it on the floor of the legislature. In direct counter to what happened when I spoke at University of Wisconsin at Madison, where you had a bunch of protesters who stood in front of the stage and obstructed the stage, and then refused to leave. And when I asked the police would they remove the protesters at a certain, they've been going for 15 minutes. By the way, personally, two things, just to preface. I have no problem whatsoever with people protesting my speeches. I do have a problem with people who won't actually let me speak. And number two, as far as all the talk about white supremacy, I can speak from experience. Mr. Lawrence, your organization named me the #1 target of anti-Semitism online last year. So I have a trophy at my house, the #1 hated Jew in America. So I'm totally familiar with the level of vitriol that's become common in our politics. But one of the things that's a problem, and I think we have to be careful about, is when we say leave it to the administrators, and then the administrators do what they did at UW, which is the police, I said to the police, will you remove these protesters? And the police said, we have been told by the administration that if we remove the protesters, we are to shut down the event entirely. So we can't remove the protesters. We literally had to wait until they just got tired and walked out, basically. When that's the response of the administration, shouldn't there be some sort of repercussion for that? Because what I'm seeing is a heckler's veto that's taking place on campus. What I'm seeing is people who are not engaging in free speech designed to enrich the debate, but in order to shut down the debate. And there have to be some...
My thing is, if you hate the guy that much, if you disagree with him that much, get up there and debate him.
Some sort of ramifications for people who are actually committing trespass. I mean, this is not a question of free, everyone is trying to focus in on this term hate crime and hate speech. But the important part of those phrases is not the first word. It's speech versus crime. So if there's a crime that's being committed, we're all in agreement. If somebody commits a crime and they're speaking of an imminent threat to somebody, of course that's a crime. But that has very little to do with the hate and a lot more to do with the crime as to whether that's prosecuted, because hate speech is not prosecutable, nor should it be policed by the campus. So the fact is that what we are seeing is a conflation between...
She actually held that for a little while. Good job. All right, now she doesn't want to hold it.
Speech and active attempts to obstruct in order to promote the obstruction by some administrators on a few college campuses.
Can you speak to how time, manner, and place restrictions are being abused?
So most obviously, UC Berkeley did that with Ann Coulter, where they kept moving around her room and they kept saying they didn't have rooms available. They said the same thing to me a week ago. There was some public outcry, and now they're offering some rooms, which I hope that event goes forward. It's not rare. They do this a lot. A private university that did it was DePaul University. I was threatened with arrest if I set foot on campus. I actually showed up there, and a security guard told me, I asked him, if I move 6 inches forward, are you going to arrest me? And he said yes, and he had the sheriff of Cook County behind him. So this is, it's become a cover for ideological discrimination, because if Ta-Nehisi Coates wants to speak on these campuses, there's not going to be any problem. The administrators will make certain that time, place, and manner restrictions don't get in the way. And this is why I say, saying that the discretion of administrators is wonderful is all well and good, except that they very often are attempting to achieve a particular political end by using means that are normally legitimate. And that's definitely a dangerous thing. If you don't mind, I have a quick note on something that
Bless you.
I think it was Mr. Lawrence was saying earlier about the damage that's done to students by various things that happen on campus, by threats of violence and this sort of thing. And obviously, everyone, I think, agrees that what happened to Taylor is unacceptable. But one of the things that I think should also be pointed out is we have a lot of other...
Who is this Taylor chick that keeps getting mentioned? Let me know in the comment section, please. Inform me on that situation.
There's students in the crowd and administrators who spend an enormous amount of time pushing stuff like white privilege means that you must accept that you are subordinate in terms of your view because of identity. This also has some lasting damage with regard to First Amendment exercise and with regard to how people perceive the freedom of the country. And I understand that this is universally held belief among university educators that we have to accept the guilt of particular races or particular sexual orientations for discrimination that's happened.
Whoa, is the video like glitched?
In the past, but when you teach a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old people this, you shouldn't be surprised when, number one, they go into hiding with their viewpoint, or number two, they become frustrated. It's an absurdity to suggest that you can tell people that their viewpoints are out of line because of their identity. At the same time, you're telling other people that their viewpoints are completely in line because of their identity, and that any assault on their senses must be protected or prevented at any cost.
Well, I would just like to point
That is crazy.
out in closing that the group, Young Americans for Liberty, that is handing out constitutions on campuses all across the country, has changed free speech restrictions on 25 campuses just by handing out this document, not by setting fires because they didn't like the speaker or throwing rocks through windows, but by handing out this constitution. And I am inspired that there are young people who are inspired by this document, and it should never be illegal to hand out this document.
Well said, Mr. Massey. Real quick, Ms. Strawson, is Mr. Shapiro right? Are most of the anti-speech activities going on campuses targeted towards conservatives and libertarians?
Certainly the well-publicized ones have been. And I can't speak for campuses across the country, but I go back to an opening point that I made, which was best summarized in the title of a book by Nat Hentoff.
But I just wanted to answer, I can't, we'll come back to that, but I just wanted to respond to Mr. Shapiro's point. I mean, that's my understanding as well, and I'll be.
Those are the well-publicized incidents, and it would be consistent with what surveys show about the prevailing beliefs on campus.
So, very, very interesting discussion there. Obviously, I interjected here and there, gave my thoughts, my opinions on some of the stuff that was being said. As always, you guys can let me know if you felt I was right, if you felt I was wrong. But let me know why or why not. All right. Let's have a discussion. Let's provide that example of what the world should actually be. You know, an open discussion, whether or not we agree or disagree, that's irrelevant. We can still talk amongst each other and have a healthy discussion, because it's important to get back to that. We've gotten so far away from that, and like I've stated before, I think that's a big part of the problem. Nobody can have serious conversations anymore. Like, of course, we can have a little small talk, you know, but when it comes to the big stuff, like, oh no, we don't discuss that. Absolutely not. Why not? Why? Is it because you're gonna get pissed if you disagree with me? You gonna tell me I'm fucking stupid and to shut the fuck up if, you know, I say something that you don't agree with? And if so, why would you tell me that? Maybe you're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Maybe we're all wrong. I don't fucking know. But at least we should be able to sit down and talk about it. Y'all let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and of course, hit the subscribe button before you go. All right? Peace and love. I'm out.